Hello and welcome to another virtual Pubcast. I'm your host, Ken Ekman, and today we've got a full panel. We are joined by Bill Arsenault.
Hey, guys.
Bill Leon.
I like how Ken is like an auctioneer. Hello and welcome to the Movie Booster Podcast.
Nora Dunn.
Phil Hartman. I don't know why I went with that guy.
Hawk Ripjaw.
Hi.
And Zachary Jeremiah.
The Phil Hartman of this group.
That's it.
Phil Hartman was very talented. He was very talented.
Are you trying to tell us that your wife is trying to kill you?
It's highly possible.
Okay. Oh, that's fucked up.
This poison tastes wonderful, honey.
I mean, that's kind of what this is.
This meatloaf is to die for. What did you put in it? Cyanide?
Well, you know, Meatloaf would do anything for love.
Yeah.
Yes, he would.
Except for that.
Oh, I will do anything for...
That's butt stuff, right? Butt stuff in that song.
That was a good...
it has to be.
that was a great segue into that joke right there.
Segues are usually not my thing, so... All right, we've got some big movies to discuss. So we're going to be talking Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're going to be talking The First Purge. We're going to be talking a couple of independent movies, Revenge, and a rehash of Won't You Be My Neighbor, because Zach hasn't talked it yet. And why don't we lead off with that?
Yeah, I really just want to know who cried and did not cry at watching Won't You Be My Neighbor. I feel like I need to know this.
Is there a screener out? Because I have not seen it.
No, it's in theaters.
Yeah, it's in theaters. It's a theatrical experience. You must cry among strangers.
But I didn't grow up watching Mr. Rogers. I mean, I would watch it from time to time, but it wasn't a regular fixture.
I grew up on Zubilee. I grew up on Zubilee Zoo.
Yeah, I grew up on Wishbone.
The Ben Vereen show. Yeah.
So first of all,
I've got like no emotional connection to that show at all, actually.
To Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah, it's just a movie that's gonna make you fucking cry.
Okay.
Once you've seen it.
Here's the thing: you don't necessarily, because I know a lot of people who have seen it who have no familiarity with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and definitely got emotional. I got emotional during it, but I couldn't be judged from that perspective because I definitely grew up with Mr. Rogers. He was the shit for me.
He was on Arthur. I remember that, and I learned his name was Fred Rogers from his guest appearance on Arthur.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, my childhood memories of public television, there's Mr. Rogers, and then Nickelodeon early in the morning when they had their public slots. Do you remember when they used to do that? They had the educational special slots. Mr. Wizard.
That was the one. I have more of a connection with Mr. Wizard than with Mr. Rogers. No offense to Mr. Rogers, but
there's the Mr. Wizard's reputation might be tarnished because someone on YouTube compiled all the times he was kind of rude to the kids.
That was actually half the reason it was awesome. I remembered that as a kid that he was a bit of a taskmaster.
Yeah, he's a little short-tempered. Seeing him get frustrated with the children is so fucking funny.
Which is in stark contrast to Mr. Rogers, who is probably the most patient human being on the face of the earth.
Supernaturally so.
Yeah.
Do they get into in the film, there's this misconception that he was in Vietnam?
Oh, they reference it.
I mean, they did. They name every single one of his kills. There's 68 of them.
So he was the Chris Kyle of Vietnam, right?
Oh, so you mean he lied about everything he said? He did?
Yeah.
And was a Republican.
But he wasn't actually in Vietnam, right? That's what I've understood about it.
It does tackle the various urban legends about him, though, which is an interesting part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, none of that's true.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the truth is stranger than fiction because people try to come up with these, with these stories of him that are fucked up, and I think it's far more fascinating that the deeper you dig, you just cannot find a single piece of damning material against him. I mean, yes, there were some moments that are a little bit, less, less positive than others, but no more than any average human being.
Like the worst somebody could say of him was 9/11 depressed him. He didn't smile that day.
Yeah, the closest thing the movie comes to saying something negative about him, I think, is when the guy who plays Officer Clemens mentions that when Mr. Rogers found out that he was seen in a gay club, he told him that he really shouldn't go back to gay clubs. And the reasoning he gave for it, though, was because of his concern for his show, which in those days, I totally get the fear that the show would have been shut down if that was found out.
Fred Rogers was gay?
No. The guy who played Officer Clemens was gay.
Although Mr. Rogers being gay was one of the urban legends.
Yeah, that's one thing they talk about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, especially in this day and age, that would be, pretty frowned upon. That is a negative. But then, later, the actor who played Officer Clemens talks about how much Fred Rogers meant to him, and that was the largest fucking crying scene in the movie.
It is. So you can't even that mild negative you can't hold against him, just because the guy who said that also literally teared up saying that Mr. Rogers was the father that he never had.
Yeah, basically he's there's something that he did later. He's he realized
that Mr.
Rogers actually loved him. It's you actually do love him. He's Mr. Rogers apparently told him, it's now you're finally hearing what I've been telling you this whole time, basically. And it's just oh God. Meltdown.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there were no dry eyes in that movie theater that I was in.
Yeah, no. It actually was very interesting very interesting sociological experiment. I come in during the previews. It's Marcus, so there's 28 minutes of these things.
Oh yeah, fucking Marcus previews.
And I get out my phone. This is 9:30 in the morning too, and I'm in the second to last row. And as soon as I get out my phone and turn it on, there's just immediately in my ear, could you turn that off, please? Just some arrogant, just straight up bitter woman. It was just immediately, I was just I mean, there's 25 minutes previews to go, lady. I didn't really say anything. I was just okay. And I turned it off. And I probably shouldn't have, but it surprised the fuck out of me. Anyways, about 30 minutes into the movie, when they are starting to kind of get into his philosophy on life a little more and all of that sort of stuff, I hear somebody get up and leave.
And it was her.
It was that bitch. I was oh God, this is a soul test. This is a soul test movie.
Yeah.
That lady, that was a fourth grade teacher for sure. Someone whose just love for children has been utterly destroyed in humanity in general.
God damn. Yeah, I would say this movie could easily be used in psychology, labs as a way to test for sociopaths.
Yeah, this lady was a sociopath. She was there to look for phones. She had no interest.
Oh my God, she paid for this too.
Probably, I'm sure.
I mean, she got movie pass? This chick?
I don't know. She was she's definitely her mid 60s or something. She probably runs Movie Pass, I think, is what I heard.
As an aside, Zach, just because you mentioned Marcus Theaters, what do you think of Mr. Marcus's opera singing?
Oh gosh, he's such a cheese. I love him.
Yeah, for those who don't know, because it is kind of a smaller chain. The guy in charge of Marcus Theaters after all of the trailers are done, just before beginning the movie, there's a segment where he comes in and basically just talks about his legacy, as an owner of the theater chain and stuff, and it's always the most corny shit you've ever seen.
Oh my god, yeah, he basically is obviously a movie fan, but kind of like I don't know if your pedo uncle did like Sweden movies.
Sweden.
Got his
Sweden, yes.
yeah, kind of the vibe that he gives. He's amazing.
Oh yeah,
What's that
I think
theater?
never changes.
What's that theater that's
Marcus?
inside a furniture store?
Hmm?
What's that theater that's inside a furniture store?
I
don't know.
There's a movie theater. I don't think it's a chain. It's the movie theater, but it's actually inside a furniture store, and you can like go shop furniture and also see a movie.
That sounds like the way I would shop for furniture.
That's a weird combo.
There is this famous furniture store in Iowa that's fucking huge, and I can't remember the name of it, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear that they had a movie theater in it because there's a whole bunch of stuff. What is it? Now I gotta look that up.
Called Jordan's Furniture?
Yeah,
it's Jordan's Furniture, and they have an IMAX theater.
Oh, wow.
Like you don't even sit in the furniture you're shopping for to watch the movie. You go, there's a showroom with furniture, and then you go into a fucking movie theater and watch a movie also.
Oh, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island.
Yeah.
7 locations.
Yeah.
All of them have movie theaters.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, furniture shopping does sound like the thing you can do in New Hampshire. But Leon, you're closest to New Hampshire. Do you have any better insight on what those people might do with their lives?
Never been there.
Here it is, Goods Furniture, Iowa. Their website here says that they have 12 buildings and 250,000 square feet, and they advertise furniture, mattresses, and then fun and adventure because they have a bed and breakfast, they have a wine cellar, restaurant, a market square, and they have a plane and train like museum.
Yeah, I went to see Won't You Be My Neighbor. I went to see Won't You Be My Neighbor, and I was really surprised that the movie stopped for 20 minutes to talk about shopping for furniture.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Entirely apropos of nothing, Bill, Leon, Taylor ham or pork roll?
Pork roll.
Okay, that's the only way to be. Just needed to know.
Oh, wow.
Little New Jersey.
I guess we were talking Midwest for a little while, so you had to pull out a little bit of East Coast there.
Exactly. Gotta mix it up. Bill Arsenault just has all the good food, and we know that Hawk has all the good weed. So.
Literally, the only reason I know that pork roll is a thing is the Angry Video Game Nerd did a video about it, and then there's the Wayne song, Pork Roll Egg and Cheese.
Which is a delicious breakfast sandwich that you can get at the Wawa.
All right. Well, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next indie film here. Now, Hawk, you saw Revenge.
Yeah, so this is a couple weeks old. What?
I was making fun of the way Ken pronounced it.
Revenge.
Well, also, I think the connection started to drop off there for a second.
That's just how Ken talks.
That's a good way to actually say the title because this is one hell of a movie. Like they couldn't have titled it better than just Revenge. This is interesting. It's a French film. Well, kind of. It's a French-English film. I think it's made by a French actor or a French filmmaker. She's a female director, which is interesting because this is a rape revenge film. Which I can't think off the top of my head of any rape revenge movies made by a female director.
Honestly, I think the recent sequels to I Spit on Your Grave were done by females.
Okay.
Was it?
I think.
And, I Spit on Your Grave in itself is a rape revenge film, so.
Yeah.
Of course,
well,
yeah.
The sequels and the remakes are also about the same subject. So.
The remake was directed by Stephen R. Monroe. That does not sound like a girl.
Well, you never know.
It could be. I guess I shouldn't be so
gender phobic or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a no. I think there were sequels done to the remake, and I want to say that one of them was done by a female. I could be wrong.
I didn't even know that there were sequels to the remake, so
there were.
Yeah,
I'll take your word for it. 6
of these overall.
Well, the French are really good at being fucked up with rape revenge. I mean, shit, Irreversible alone. So tell me about Revenge. How does that stand up?
Pretty damn well. So it's a fairly simple movie. This this girl Jan has a boyfriend who is married to another woman, but they go off to this vacation home in the desert. And while they're out there, her boyfriend's two hunting buddies also show up.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly. So she's very promiscuous. She likes to dance and hang out. When the first shot you see her in, she's wearing sunglasses and sucking on a lollipop. So one of the most interesting things about this movie is it kind of punishes the male gaze in a way, because the way she's shot in the first act of the movie is very promiscuously. Lots of shots of her butt, close-ups of her face. She's very done up, very
Michael
beautiful.
Bay vision.
Yeah, but the French version, Michel Bay. She's shot in a way that the male filmmaker would shoot her, very hot, and the way she dances, everything she does is very promiscuous. The way she acts, not that she is promiscuous, she only loves her boyfriend, but this leads to her kind of like dancing up against one of the friends, and then she goes to sleep with her boyfriend. The next day, the boyfriend is out of the house, and the friend comes on to her and she's kind of resisting him, and he says, "Well, you seemed to like me last night. What happened?" And of course, that leads to the rape scene. Now, the scene is very, very troubling, not because they show it; they really don't. They show him sliding his fingers underneath her underwear, but other than that, they don't show anything. They do show the other buddy coming in, and he stares at them for a second and then closes the door and leaves. And then you can hear her screaming from behind the closed door, and the friend gets this look on his face, and he turns around. You think he's going to do something, but he picks up the remote and turns the TV volume up so he doesn't have to hear the screaming. So already it's a pretty fucked up movie.
Yeah.
It's
so
they give you a few minutes of showing this woman in a very very attractive sense, and then they completely turn it on its head. The boyfriend comes back, and he tells her what happens, and she tells him what happens. He tries to give her some money to just leave and keep her mouth shut, and she refuses and starts to run away, and they catch up to her, and he pushes her off a short cliff, and she gets impaled on a tree.
So she's dead?
No, she survives.
Yes.
Oh,
movie
okay.
over.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna say what a wonderful movie that is.
Yeah, the twist is there's no revenge.
Great if it ends there, right?
25-minute movie. It's terrible. I'm so sad.
Oh god.
French movies, hooray!
The French would do that. I mean, you have seen Irreversible, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
The whole point of Irreversible is showing you in painful detail a person, basically how a person who is not like guilty of rape being murdered because of someone raping someone at the beginning. God, fuck that movie. I'm sorry. Irreversible fucks my head.
And this movie is not quite as intense as Irreversible. But in some ways, it kind of is. Part of it has to do with the fact that this is shot very stylistically.
Okay.
One of my favorite shots in the movie is after some time she wakes up, having been impaled on the tree, and you see an extreme close-up of an ant crawling around on the sand, and a drop of blood falls next to the ant, and the sound design makes it sound like a gunshot. This blood is dripping around this ant, and just boom, boom. And it's just a very concussive, the way this movie is shot and the way the sound is edited. But it's beautifully filmed. A lot of color. The house has different panes of glass, and sometimes characters will face each other from either sides of the glass. So you see these characters as if there's a gel over the lens of the camera. Any case, she escapes from the tree she has to very painfully reach for a lighter she was carrying and set the tree on fire so it breaks and she falls to the ground. And then she goes off to hunt down these three men, and that's kind of where the revenge part begins. This movie is outrageously violent. There are only those four characters and no one else. Which makes it very they had the big open desert, but having only those four characters gives a little bit more of an immediacy to the plot. where you know it's going to be wrapped up pretty quickly. It's also not long. It's like an hour and a half, I think. But there is a scene where there is so much blood that characters are slipping on it. And it's not funny like it was in Alien Covenant. It's actually like really intense. Zach, you've seen Alien Covenant, right?
Zach?
I guess he really didn't like hearing about that movie.
Yeah.
But oh, he's back. Zach, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Have you seen Alien? Have you seen Alien Covenant?
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Okay.
Maybe I'm back. What was I saying?
Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
And you remember, I only cite that because I knew this was going to happen in Revenge, and I was hoping it wouldn't be as funny as it was in Alien Covenant. For those that don't know, in Alien Covenant, there's a scene where a character dies very, very bloodily. And they leave a bunch of blood on the ground, and one person slips cartoon style on the blood, where like their legs shoot out from underneath it, zoop, and then a couple minutes later, a second character slips on that same puddle of blood in the exact same way. And I have no idea why Ridley Scott thought that would be dramatic or frightening, because it's not. But in any case,
probably wasn't going for that. I don't know.
I don't know. But a character slips on blood in Revenge, and it's not funny. It's actually like, you know what's going to happen, but it's pretty intense. There's a part where she knows a character is coming because he's hiding around the corner, and he's bleeding so profusely she sees some of it flowing around the corner and knows he's standing waiting for her. Like it's the amount of prosthetic gore and blood they spent on this movie, and prosthetic body parts for getting shot and stabbed, was probably the majority of this movie's budget.
Now, is the violence over the top to the point of being unrealistic, or is it over the top, but also grounded in some level of reality?
It's over the top, grounded in reality. I would say it's a little bit hallucinogenic. It feels excessive and very gory, but just a few shades more than it would be. She said that she was inspired by Kill Bill, the filmmaker. It's not as wacky as Kill Bill is, but there's a stylish bent to the violence that's still kind of like, I haven't winced like that in a movie for a while, but it didn't feel comical or excessive or even, all that over the top. Like, it didn't detract from it. It was very graphic, but the whole movie is so full tilt graphic and unpleasant that it didn't really pull you out at any of those points. There's some interesting motifs. Like at the very beginning, Jan bites into an apple and leaves it on the table. And at a couple of transition scenes later, you see the apple progressively browner as it's just sitting there, as things are getting more dire. Let's see. I had a couple notes. That's why I'm pausing here. It's there's kind of a cat and mouse dynamic. Of course, the thing I love about the reason I love revenge movies is that the victim becomes the aggressor and vice versa. There's this the main character kind of overcomes what's happened to them and becomes the powerful one and takes back what is theirs. And this movie really exemplifies that. Although there are certain scenes where sometimes the power dynamic changes a tiny bit, where for a moment she's once again the prey, but either she will reveal this to have been a facade and she really is setting things up to kill, or she really is in danger, but it doesn't last long enough to really register and she's back in control again. And the way that she changes as a character is kind of abrupt. At the very beginning of the movie, she's very done up and she's got the makeup on and the hair is really nice and stuff, and her clothes. And by the end of the movie, she's pretty much wearing a sports bra and panties. She's covered in blood and dirt. Her makeup is gone and her hair is almost dark brown from all the grime of the desert that she's been crawling through. And that dynamic of how she changes and how the audience looks at her, I think, was very deliberate and very impactful, because she's clearly a sex object at the very beginning of the film, and the movie wants you to see her like that. And then by the end of the movie, it's like saying, no, she's actually not. She is this She's this powerful figure who's dirty and grimy and not sexy. She's just angry and dangerous.
Angry and dangerous.
Yes, actually, I would say furious and dangerous. I mean, the
Furious.
I don't remember
I would bet,
actress, the French actress, but the level of physicality in her acting is really profound. From the looks on her face as she endures all this pain to how she goes from being very, very, cheerful and happy and flirty to just being just kind of raw anger and pain was extremely good. Matilda Lutz. I don't know what else she's been in. But I'm really excited because the director of this movie is saying that after having made this movie, she is getting, quote, doors opening in Hollywood on all sides. Like she has people running to her with scripts.
Maybe she's going to do the next Squirrel Girl movie for Marvel.
Something tells me Marvel's not really looking necessarily in this corner.
Well, they got Scott Derrickson for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I somehow doubt there's going to be a Squirrel Girl rape revenge movie.
Well, she doesn't necessarily have to do a rape revenge story.
I know. I'm just imagining in my head how fucked up that would be if they tried.
There's got to be this escalation, right? Where Disney was like, "Hey, let's get that guy that made the snuff film movies to do our Doctor Strange film."
To be fair, Marvel kind of already did a rape revenge story with Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, yeah, good point.
Yes, okay, all right. But that was for Netflix, and that was, that wasn't like to their broader mainstream audience. That was
right
for people that want to dive a little deeper down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
So the only thing that I can see that is in English language from Jessica Lutz as an actress was Rings.
Oh,
which, I don't think anybody saw, right?
Which you mean the new Rings movie?
The new one that was apparently really shitty.
First you see it, then you die. That thing. Okay.
Yeah.
One where they've updated it to DVDs or.
Well, it's on a plane.
It's on a plane.
Everybody's watching it.
Yeah.
Rings on a plane.
I want to know the context of do the TVs in the plane just automatically switch to it, or is this one person like, "Hey guys, switch channel 13"?
I just call that the United announcements. Like, oh, I am at O'Hare. Fuck.
Well, their flight was delayed, and they get like free TV, but only one channel, and it's the Rings movie, the one that you watch and you die.
Like, there's not even a horror element.
Fucking Delta, god damn it!
That was
it's not actually like there's no supernatural element. Everyone just kills each other on the plane out of anger.
In which one?
That'd be cool. A zombie movie on a plane where everyone just goes nuts and just is murdering each other.
Just they go nuts when they realize that their in-flight entertainment is Rings.
The zombie movie on the plane, that was World War Z.
Yeah, but that wasn't solely on a plane.
Zombie scene on a plane.
True.
Yeah, zombie sequence, yeah.
How come there's not been a zombies on a plane movie yet?
I bet you it has. I bet you they've made it and it's called Dead Air or something like that.
That is a shockingly specific name, but I think
Dead Air movie.
I'm typing that in.
Right now. No, you're joking, right?
No. Well, I was joking about the title. However, there is a movie called Flight of the Living Dead, which is
there's also a movie called Dead Air that has zombies in it.
Yeah, it says here Dead Air is a 2009 American science fiction horror film directed by Corbin Burnson. And what the fuck? The story is about a radio station after an explosion unleashes zombies in Los Angeles.
Oh, nice.
So not quite the same, but Dead Air being a zombie film.
God damn it. The screenwriter described the film as, it's like a PCP zombie movie. That's my take on it, because they're not really dead.
That's stupid.
Because they're not really dead.
A primary care physician?
Oh, it's like a PCP movie, because they're not really dead. They're on PCP, get it?
I doubt that Rotten Tomatoes has actually reviewed this, but I'm just going to look. I'm curious.
I wonder what Trump's view on Dead Air would be. His review of it. It would be like, this is why we're so concerned about the opioids.
Well, I'm sure Armand White loves it.
The opiates crisis.
Oh, there's also a 1994 movie called Dead Air with Gregory Hines.
There was another zombie movie on a plane called Quarantine 2. Terminal.
Oh, you're
Oh,
right.
no.
Yeah. And Rec 2, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Rec 3 or something.
Okay, there's only one Rotten Tomatoes rating for Dead Air, and it's actually positive. The blurb says, Director Burnson has great potential as a horror director and delivers a real bang for our buck, says Felix Vasquez Jr. of Cinema Crazed.
Cinema Crazed?
I've never heard of it.
It's probably just some fucking
Totally have to
blog or
watch it.
something.
Yeah,
some rag site like Movie Boozer. Yeah, who knows?
I know we're ones to talk.
yeah, but
Yeah,
Who goes to that site? Nobody.
yeah, but by the way, if you watch that one, this is the plot to the Gregory Hines Dead Air. It says here a radio DJ. I say that because it's spelled DEEJ. Gets targeted by a crazed killer in this made-for-television thriller.
So apparently, I guess it makes sense that the better Dead Air pun is radio related.
Yeah. By the way, the
Unfortunately.
movie stars Gregory Hines and Veronica Cartwright. That's a weird mix.
not Nancy Cartwright.
Yeah. No, that would be interesting too.
Scientologist Nancy Cartwright.
Is she?
Yeah, well, if she is, I don't.
Wait.
judge.
We're talking about the voice of Bart Simpson, right?
I guess, yeah.
You guys don't know about this? She got in trouble for some kind of like phone message she made.
Oh yeah, you told us about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she is a Scientologist.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway, Revenge is a very solid film. It's very very beautifully made. It's got a great synth soundtrack, which surprised me. It's almost kind of got this Outrun aesthetic to it. There's a scene where this guy is riding on his motorcycle at night, and he's just illuminated by the red off of his dashboard, and just this guy in a bike helmet illuminated in red while this pulsing synth score plays. It's got a good look and sound to it. It's also very intense and oftentimes unpleasant and violent. It's almost got a grindhouse level of violence, but not excessively. So I recommend it, and I chose it because it's I felt it was sort of a companion piece to the other politically charged movie of the weekend in how it kind of reveals and subverts the way certain people act towards each other, shall we say.
And that's a good lead into the first Purge.
Ooh, yes. Okay.
So, who saw it?
I saw it.
I wasn't able to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hawk.
All right, then,
I
Bill.
didn't care.
All right, Bill, tell us.
No one else saw it? I was the only one that saw it?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I was hoping to have like a argument or a
I
discussion.
know. I
with it.
really wanted to see it, but I was kept late at work the past couple days, so I wasn't able to.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to.
I have not
We're
seen
talking
any
Ant-Man.
Purge movie, so
Oh, The Purge. Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, I know it's a Purge movie. I even went in with the same sentiment. Oh God, it's another one. You know.
However, Will does send his regards. He said he would have loved to come on and argue with you, but he has to work too.
Yeah, I really appreciated his thoughts on my thoughts in the Facebook chat. You know, he was like, "Yeah, you know, you were pretty thorough and articulate."
Well,
something.
I guess what we can do is he asked me what my thoughts on the rest of the franchise are, and I told him, and he told me essentially that I may feel the same way as he did on the first Purge. So I can kind of channel Will for you and say what we think of the franchise. So you can bounce off of that.
You'll summon him. Okay.
Yeah,
in spirit.
I'll bring out the Ouija board. You know.
I have my Ouija keyboard if I pull off enough keys.
Well, that's everyone can do that, but unless it's like a MacBook and it's embedded in the.
Nope,
computer.
it's a fucking old ThinkPad.
Oh, okay, well, there you go. All right, so the first Purge.
What happens if your hard drive crashes on a ThinkPad? Is it still a ThinkPad?
I guess not.
It's a thought pad.
It had a thought once. Yeah. The first Purge. You know, for starters, with the franchise, the very first Purge movie with Ethan Hawke, I Well, I thought after seeing all three, that was the most subtle, and that's saying something, and not saying anything at the same time.
There are 4 Purge movies, including this one.
Yes,
yeah,
including this one. There's 4. There's the Purge. There's the Purge Anarchy. There's the Purge Election Year, and then there's this one, the First Purge, which tells the story of the experiment that led to the nationwide purge. And the experiment takes place on Staten Island, specifically in a little neighborhood that's got like project apartments and stuff. It's specifically preying on low-income minority community, and that's the goal of the new founding fathers, which is as it turns out a new party, a third party of the United States of America, from the Democrats and the Republicans. And they've just been elected to high office, to presidency, and this is their idea: is this experiment.
We just grew a new branch of government. It's not
a new branch. It's a new party, a new political party. And,
but that never works.
Hardly ever. But in this movie, it does, because they show the times. They show riots in the street. You know how post-apocalyptic movies are, like, oh, there's danger in the streets, there's crime, there's low income, there's a wage discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Climate change, whatnot, and they're like, well, we know how to solve this. We're just going to let you purge your violence. It's like, wait, what? Like, how does that solve? And then they get into
I don't think that premise has ever made sense since the beginning.
No, it's like stockpile all your murder for it's like, oh yeah, just you fucking wait till purge night, man.
This is how the movie starts. I want to explain this very carefully. It starts with me laughing my ass off, because it literally opens on a black man's face, and this black man has like. It's like he scarred up his face in a very tribal way, like almost like there's beads embedded in his skin. It's very interesting. He might as well be tattooed on the face. And he starts off by saying, like, yeah, I'm crazy, man. I just want to kill people all the time. And the guy interviewing him is like this white guy, this white scientist guy. He's like, soon you will. And then they cut back to the black man, and he's just like smiling evil. And it turns out his name is Skeletor.
Okay.
That's his name. His name is Skeletor. I guess he's like a local, and that's just what they call him. But he's also very crazy. He just happens to be this insane person that wants to purge. Well,
that opening does sound amazing.
It is amazing. It is. Me and my brother were just laughing, just as a nuisance, to the point of being a nuisance.
I was going to ask, were the other people in the theater like mad that you were laughing? Because usually,
no, I think people. We were considerate in our laughter, but I was surprised other people weren't laughing, because this shit was obviously funny. Anything with Skeletor was funny.
Yeah,
and just his name, but also his behavior, and I think people. Go ahead.
I was going to say, is Skeletor the guy that's been featured prominently in the trailers with the horns on his mask?
No, that's not him. He's a totally different guy. He's got like a big machete or something, or a knife. Maybe it's a dining knife. I don't know. I don't remember.
That's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, I think it's a boning knife for fishing.
Okay.
No, I think it's incomparable. I think it's in between. And
it's either a machete or a steak knife. I don't know.
A steak knife. I don't know. I don't fucking remember now. But he's got like
It was a gun, not that
he developed. Yeah, right. He develops a Wolverine-style claws out of used syringe needles. Oh. And I was like, man, that is a vicious weapon. Because what if you don't kill the person? What if you just give them AIDS, and then that eventually kills them?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I'm getting beyond myself, because I actually fucking love this movie beyond it being funny in those respects. The movie really starts with people lined up outside of these military emergency tents, which are basically psychological briefings that people go into. They ask them a series of questions. Are you an angry person? Do you have anger in you? Do you ever have the urge to kill? Blah, blah, blah. And if they say yes, then they give them like $5,000 to explicitly participate on the night of the purge, and we'll give you these contact lenses with cameras in them, and we'll give you the money, blah blah blah, and if you kill people, we'll give you more money. So yeah, we'll compensate you even further. That's what they say. They always make sure to use that language, like compensate, not money, compensate. We'll make sure your time is well worth it, or shit like that only white people would say, or people in a higher government age. You know what I mean? Like the stereotype of like the black suited white man, the Men in Black, saying some shit like you didn't see this on the night of August 3rd. It's like that, but they're saying we'll compensate you. So you got lines of people just wanting to take this money and probably not even thinking they're going to purge. And it reminded me so much of the Red Cross after Katrina in our area. We would have people lined up just, like looking to get their houses fixed or just to pay for food and water, And I was like, I totally understand what these people are feeling, because that was us, essentially. I was fortunate enough to not have been in one of those lines, but I definitely had to pass by them several times. So anyway, the movie gets going when we're introduced to the main characters. Main characters being a drug kingpin and his ex-flame, who is now an activist, who is against the purge. And he's kind of indifferent to it. He's like, well, it doesn't really affect me, but I don't want any of my guys doing that shit. We're just going to hunker down and keep track of our supply, that kind of thing. He doesn't want any part of it. The activist girl, she just wants it to end. She doesn't like where this is heading, blah, blah, blah. Mostly when Purge Night happens, people are afraid, but they mostly just party. That's the thing that the government finds, is that people aren't killing. They're just having fun and having sex out in the open and stuff like that. That's their idea of acting illegally. And Marissa Tomei, who's the psychologist in charge of the project, she's like, I don't understand why they're not killing people. She's like, this goes against all of our data, but whatever, she's like, whatever. It's just an experiment. This is no sweat off my sack, And she doesn't have a sack to speak of, but maybe she does. Maybe it's in her purse.
How do you know?
I don't know. Maybe it's in her purse. Maybe it's like those stress balls. Well, anyways, the government. This is where the movie really kicks in. Is when the government initiates a plan to hire mercenaries to come into the community and just start killing people in mass quantities. They go into a church. They gun down everybody. They go into an apartment building. They gun down everyone room by room. And they're dressed up as hooded KKK members. Some are dressed up as leather-clad Nazis. And others, and this was an amazing personal detail, others are wearing blackface masks. Masks that are literally blackface, with the red lips and the blackface. And I thought to myself, like, oh my God, that is amazing detail for a movie that really shouldn't give a fuck about detail, or hasn't normally given a fuck about detail in the past. I was like, that they're doing that to mock these people that they're killing. That's straight up bold right there.
Right.
The drug dealer character eventually has a change of heart, and he starts assisting the community when he finds out about the mercenaries. And then from then on, it becomes basically like a Rambo film, where it's this young strapping African American guy just fucking gunning down all the white empowerment people that he can find, or the people representing the symbols of white power, And that's when the movie is like absolutely fucking glorious. I wrote in my review for a local email newsletter that that if Sergei Eisenstein were alive today and were an African American, he would be making Purge movies. And I firmly believe this. This movie is like Battleship Potemkin. It's depicting like the realities of the day, or it's not the anxieties of the day. You know what I mean? It's depicting the rage of the day, and it's expressing that. in very heightened style. Like the Odessa Steps. That was very heightened. It was emotional, but it was also getting at a very heightened truth. Something that is real. It feels real because it is real. It may not have directly happened that way, but it happened nonetheless. People were killed in that area, and there's this scene in the movie where these mercenaries are dressed up as like LAPD type cops, like 1960s LAPD type police uniforms, and they're beating to death an old black man in a baseball park on a baseball field. And I thought, man, there are so many levels to this. It's a little on the nose, obviously. This movie does not do nuance, and nor should it. This movie is all in your... This movie is like a fucking mallet directly at your face. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that is a good thing, I think, because all the entire time I'm watching this, the images were just hitting me really hard, especially after everything we've seen in the news regarding anytime there's like an incident involving a police officer using extreme and unnecessary force, anytime there's just someone on Facebook getting racist, or anytime there's a news story about the government locking people up or locking kids up, for example, detaining them, doing things they really shouldn't be doing just based on history alone. It's stuff that feels really real because it is real. And it should be noted that the guy who directed this Purge movie is not the same director who did the other Purge movies. The guy who did the other
doing the TV show, right?
Yeah, that guy's doing the TV show. And what that?
Number for Papa John's.
I don't know. Why do you need to know?
The next door was asking.
This fatherly interlude is brought to you
by... Sorry, guys. I should have muted that shit, but I was in the middle of our next door neighbor wants to know the number for Papa John's Pizza. You don't have Google? You can't just, like,
what? Papa John's.
Fitting that you're talking about statements against racism. With
yes, the Papa John's owner, CEO had a recent spat on a conference call, but we just ordered Papa John's earlier. That's why I muted myself a couple of times, was to deal with the delivery guy. And now my dad's like interrupting the podcast, like, "Hey, what's the number for Papa John's?" I'm like, "I don't fucking know. I didn't call them. I ordered it online."
Wow.
You're ruining the podcast, Dad. No, I'm in the middle of a spiel against racism and intolerance and stuff, and how this movie depicts.
Life gets in the way. Don't worry.
And then that's oh god.
I was about to say but Papa John is okay with black people, right? And then I just Googled it. Like, oh my god, I guess he's not.
I guess he's not. Yeah. So what I'm getting at is the first Purge is the first movie not directed by the creator. The creator of the series has done the previous three. The first movie was, by comparison, the most subtle, if you want to think of it in those terms. And then the next two were just balls-to-the-wall canon films with Frank Grillo as the lead. This movie is like canon, but it's almost like to the nth degree. It's canon, but artsy, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
So like early canon films when they actually gave a shit.
I guess it's an early canon film when you think about it. But it goes beyond all that. I would compare it in a way to Stallone's recent Rambo film, which for me went beyond action and just went into complete transcendence. Like that was an absolutely crazy gore fest right there. But it had some purpose to it, Same with this. The imagery alone in this movie is bold, it's crazy, it's staggering in its depth and the different dimensions to it all. And honest to goodness, the performances aren't that bad either. The acting was a problem in some of the other movies, but here it's kind of more subdued. They kind of they don't hold back, but they do. I think part of it is the script. Whoever the creator wrote the script for this movie, but either he learned after the previous 3 movies how to write one of these movies better, or the director, Greg McMurray, who also has a movie on Netflix right now called Burning Sands, I think it's what it's called, about fraternity hazing. He must have interpreted the script in a certain way to best bring out the the best out of everyone, And so yes, the first Purge was a complete surprise. I was completely taken by this film in every way, shape, and form. That being said, I had like 1 or 2 mild nitpicks, and that had to do with like little issues in the screenplay, and specifically Skeletor. As much as Skeletor made me laugh, he may have made me laugh a little too much. There's one moment in the film, oh my God, where fucking Skeletor comes out of nowhere, and I was expecting him to be in the closet hiding. Instead, he comes out from the hallway, and I don't want to get into exactly what he does, but he before he does it, he goes, "Motherfucker!" and then he starts doing his thing, and I was like, "Is that the punchline to a joke that was never said?" I didn't get that. I was like, that was almost wasted potential right there. Like, they could have done something more with Skeletor right there. But what they did with him was okay, so that's fine. I would give this movie a toast. Absolutely. Wow. No asterisk, no toast and a shot. This is an absolute toast.
I'll have to see it. So what you're describing kind of I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to reinforces my opinion on the overall franchise, in that it kind of tries to have its cake and eat it too, in terms of combining.
It did before, yes. It was a have its cake and eat it too thing in the last 2 movies. Okay. This movie kind of goes past that level. If there was like a spectrum where on one end is subtlety and nuance, and the other side is super extreme balls to the wall action and whatever, and both sides are capable of deeper meaning, but when you get in between, that's where you kind of have your problems. This movie is all the way on the super extreme side.
Yeah, well, because my thing is that these movies have this really crazy dark vision of the future, which could make for great exploitation filmmaking and honestly pretty fun filmmaking. Like, I thought Election Year was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, the first part is trying to be way more political, but still trying to cram that political message into this world that has spent 3 movies establishing itself as very, very crazy and otherworldly, so to speak.
Right. I think the political message here is done a lot better than the last 2 movies. The first movie had room to play with because it was like one setting. It was in a house. Specifically, it was in a well-to-do white family house. So there was an interesting dynamic there where they were on the privileged side of things. They never really had to face a purge in any real danger, because they lived in a certain part of the town. They had good security, whatnot. Now they have to face their demons, essentially. And then the next 2 were just action schlock, where the message of the film was hammered in. Like, for example, there was a scene in I think it was the second one, where Frank Grillo's laying on the ground, he's been shot, and the butcher character, who was machine gunning people out the back of his meat truck, which is a funny statement to say. He comes up to him, he's got a gun, he's like, all hail the founding fathers, blessed this new day of the I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, because
this movie never does that. The first Purge never does that, because this is the frame of reference for all other Purges.
And that's kind of why I'm so disinterested in it, is because I think the Purge movies work best when they are pure, crazy, balls to the wall, nihilistic exploitation. Like those crazy characters, like, oh, not only can you break a law by killing people, you're going to put on a fucking costume and have a character while you do it too. Like, I'm going to dig up a pig mask and be the butcher or whatever.
Yeah, I guess that element is missing from this, but what it lacks in glitter, so to speak, costumes and glitter and, craziness and zaniness, it makes up for in overall attitude, behavior, and really its statement. Where the line is drawn, essentially. And
I think that's a good thing. If it dials back the craziness and focuses more on the political part and sending a message, I think that's good. My concern was that they keep that same tempo of insanity, but also be more political too, just like more. Which
I think Skeletor represents that tempo greatly. The tempo is a little dialed back in this movie, but it's until the end, until the climax. The climax really gets going big time.
Okay.
But leading up to that, it's all kind of more artsy, I guess you could say.
Okay.
That's how I kind of want to put it. I would give this movie a high recommendation, but I don't want you guys to feel let down if you see it and you don't like it. so just go into it remembering it's still a Purge movie. It's still silly. It's still crazy. So maybe with those expectations, you'll be fulfilled.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I both you and Will are people that I find myself often aligning with in terms of liking a specific film. I oftentimes agree with you, and I oftentimes agree with him. So, given that you guys Will hated it and you really, really loved it, so I'm curious to see how I'll respond to it, given how often I align with either of you.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm here for that.
But
yeah,
exactly.
Now that my expectations have grown a little bit.
Yeah,
kind of like
who's laughing in the background?
Yeah, that's comical.
Oh, my mom is laughing in the background. You guys got to remember, I just moved into a shotgun apartment,
right?
And the doors kind of close, but they have hook locks. So without the hook locks, they're slightly ajar. There's a little crack in there where you can hear people on either side in different rooms. Like my parents are in the living room right now and they're watching TV and they're laughing. Specifically, my mom, she loves to laugh and she laughs really hard. And my brother's in the other room on his computer. So you might get, some feedback from both sides. I've tried to close the doors as much as possible tonight, but we happened to start this podcast right when we were ordering pizza. And so all this shit happened, and then the neighbor saw that we had pizza, and the neighbor was like, "Hey, man, what's the number for Papa John's?"
Oh, my God. So Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes,
that was my segue.
Okay, it's talking about growth. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like my expectations have grown like a superhero this weekend.
So who all has seen Ant-Man and the Wasp besides me?
I did.
Yep, same here.
And Ken has a very interesting story on his efforts of trying to see this film.
Yeah, I can't get the motivation to.
And I don't blame you.
Yeah, why, Ken? Are you just so laid to waste by the recent events in Infinity War that you can't emotionally engage with a Marvel film like that?
I think it's the knowledge that this factor is basically not at all in it. And Infinity War, the more I think about it, the less I even really have much. Here's the thing. I will accept Infinity War as a great film if they actually conclude the movie.
Well,
they did. Marvel's done. You didn't know that?
Yeah,
this is the last Marvel movie ever. They just had to clean up the last couple characters.
That's the thing. I can't deal with this serialized shit much longer. I need there to be a conclusion, or it's no longer a movie, it's an extended TV series.
What's going to happen is
exactly what it is.
What's going to happen is that there's going to be a one-shot on the Infinity War Blu-ray special features where Hawkeye dies, and then it's just going to be like, well, Star Wars from now on.
Well, Hawkeye dies. Do you think anyone is going to?
I would care. Anyway,
yeah, I would care too. I like Hawkeye.
Ken,
Okay.
have you heard of this thing on Reddit with the subreddit Thanos did nothing wrong?
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Okay, that's funny stuff. Wait, you're just familiar with the subreddit, or you know about the whole? So
The
like,
whole Thanos did nothing wrong. I'm familiar with that because
no,
it's true.
no,
What?
no, but
They successfully
So-
blocked and banned half the community,
yeah,
just like Thanos killed off half the universe.
the mods gave permission to ban half of the subreddit randomly. I think today. I don't know. I don't remember what the date was supposed to be because I'm not sub to it. But anyway, that's some fun, dumb Reddit shit.
So Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm sorry, Ken, that you couldn't muster up any energy to go see this
literally
movie,
every
but
person I've ever spoken to who's seen this movie said, "Eh."
that's kind of my feeling on it too. Honestly,
I'd go a few degrees above that.
Yeah, same here.
I certainly didn't dislike Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, so less of an and more of a
And more like a, huh.
yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's all right. Look, you're not going to follow up Infinity War with a fucking Ant-Man movie and make it be anything profound.
Yeah, and
it's a sequel to Ant-Man. I thought the first Ant-Man was honest, like legitimately one of my favorite Marvel films. It's really fun. It's very silly. It's one of the most comic booky of all the Marvel films.
I think I was sour on it when we originally reviewed it, but I've really come around and I really enjoyed it the last time I watched it.
And here's the thing. I even agree with you on this. I don't care. I don't know why. I can't put a finger on this.
Look at it like this: Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we'll get into more of it, but is my kind of selling point to use Ant-Man and the Wasp is not going to be memorable or anything like that. It's just a really fun 2 hours of movie.
It's essentially what the label of the comic originally was, which was Tales to Astonish.
Yeah,
it's literally like that kind of definition where it's it's spectacle, it's spectacular, but it's not necessarily insightful. It's just people doing crazy, wonderful, astonishing things.
Exactly,
Super
inventive
things.
spectacle, like just fucking around with a fun playground of special effects.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, the quantum realm. Yeah.
So the plot framework of the new one is actually, Zach, do you want to talk about the plot for this one?
Sure. So it basically Scott's been on house arrest for 2 years, and this gig's just about up. Part of the deal he took after Civil War, after the German airport thing, and he's contacted just before it's up by the Wasp and her dad,
Hank Pym and Hope.
Yep, there we go. Hank and Hope Pym. Because they are convinced that their mother, who disappeared in the netherworld, or whatever the name of it is,
Nether regions.
Quantum.
Yes.
The quantum realm.
the quantum realm, is still alive. And if they can, and while Scott was down there in the quantum realm in the last film, he melded in some way with her. Or at least they think so, and so they think they can use him essentially as a way to contact her. He doesn't really want to do it because he's been doing his damnedest to, be a good citizen, stay out of trouble. His FBI handler is played by Randall Park, who's pretty hilarious.
Yes.
And he also is getting things going with his company. Michael Pena's back with his weirdness. And even at one point, he gets injected with truth serum that is not truth serum, or maybe it is truth serum. And that's a whole excellent comic piece. And
He's redo his conversation thing from the first movie.
Is it excellent?
Exactly.
I don't know if it was excellent.
that's
What?
pretty.
The truth serum sequence.
I thought that was pretty fucking funny.
I thought it was pretty fucking funny.
It went on. I think it went on a little too long, honestly. But
You see, I thought in the last film he was overdone, whereas in this one, I thought it was an appropriate amount because he really only does it the once.
Yeah.
okay.
But opinions may differ. We get into the scene by scene. And anyway, so he's pulled into this whole deal, and there's another special suited individual called Ghost who's able to sort of phase in and out She either can turn herself invisible or something else. I guess I won't spoil it. I don't know if anyone cares. And she's got her own motivations as well, and is after this MacGuffin of a part that they need to complete their big machine to be able to open a gateway to the quantum realm and go back and look for Mom. And she also is after this for her own reasons. I don't know, that pretty much summarizes it.
I thought the whole MacGuffin thing was pretty well done because they're not just all after an object. The object is their lab, which can shrink down to the size of a suitcase. And they can be in the lab, or they can be in the lab when it's shrunk, but they can't grow when they're in the lab. And so there's this extra set. It's actually a setting, and the whole catalyst of what they're trying to do. This lab has the quantum tunnel, which will allow them to go to the quantum realm and save Michelle Pfeiffer. And they if the lab is shrunk, they can't do that work. And so every time somebody steals the lab in its suitcase form, they're that much further away from saving the mom. And of course, they're on a time limit because this is a once in a century opportunity for them to enter the quantum realm and pinpoint her exact location. So there's an urgency to it, but it's still a fun urgency.
Yeah, it's a fun urgency, and it's another thing that should be noted is the world isn't at stake in this movie.
No, it's a very personal.
It's a very personal. It's a very small stakes movie. I mean, yes, a life is at stake, or two lives actually, if you want to get into it. But it's not like the entire population. It's not like this technology could get in the hands of black market guys and they could rule the world with it or something.
Although the black market guy played by Walton Goggins does.
There is that, but it's made clear in the movie that guy is kind of useless and he's not going to complete his mission whatsoever. The real goal is to get away from Ghost because we don't know or trust her until whatever happens or any revelations, whatever. But that's essentially the movie. Meanwhile, Scott's trying to lay low at the same time help these Hope and Hank Pym.
Yeah, without busting his deal.
Right, which of course he can't help. When he grows the size of Giant Man, he can't help it.
Yeah.
So this movie does do a really good job of not having world-saving stakes, but making you feel those stakes a lot more than most of the rest of the Marvel films have been able to do.
Yeah, I mean, especially
they ratchet attention pretty well.
Yeah, especially in Avengers: Age of Ultron, I was like, all right, cool, fuck it, the city's lifting to the sky and it's gonna slam down like a meteor and kill everybody. Who cares? But in this one,
country that will survive.
Yeah, it's a very of course. This one is a very personal story that did have an intensity to it, but not in the way that I feared for the characters. It was just kind of like I want to see how this story plays out. I'm engaged.
Yeah, very engaging.
It's also funny. It's really funny. It's not as funny as Thor Ragnarok, which I think has kind of cornered the Marvel market in terms of wackiness. But it does have a number of very funny lines and sequences.
Yeah, I'd feel comfortable calling it the second funniest Marvel film after Thor Ragnarok.
I think I would too. I think it's funnier than the first Ant-Man.
Yep.
Especially because at this point, after Germany, Hank kind of fucking hates
Scott.
Paul Rudd's character.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this is little things where Hank has a tin of Altoids and what is Paul Rudd's character? Scott, that's right. He's like, can I please have just one Altoid? And Hank's like, no, and he takes it away and puts it on the other side of the table. Now, there's a reason for that later on, but it's still kind of funny that he's so angry at Scott that he won't even let him have an Altoid. And there's the character Ghost. Of course, it benefits that the team has a Russian character who keeps calling Ghost what's the Russian version of the boogeyman, whatever it is.
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga,
Yeah.
Baba Yaga.
And he sings the little child's poem at one point.
Yeah. It's got some little absurdist thrills here and there.
Yes, and I think it kind of hurts the film that Scott is just profoundly useless as a person. For a huge amount of the movie, he just fucks up for no reason all the time.
I actually heard someone talking about that and was commenting on, can you even consider him a superhero at this point? Based on how useless he is.
Not really. I think he's a well-intentioned man with a suit that gives him powers.
Yeah.
He
cares about his daughter deeply.
His daughter is adorable. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like all their interactions were just too much. In a good way.
That's gonna sell Ken on the movie for sure. Oh, you sold me on the cute little girl.
Well, speaking of cuteness, I thought Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd's chemistry was very cute.
Yeah,
I thought they had a really good relationship in the film and a good bouncing off of each other and everything. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, Kingsley. Anyways, keep going. One of our
I was done with my bit.
It's I'm trying to. There's Will kind of.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Somebody brings up. I don't know who cares. But anyway, the review we have makes a good point that Paul Rudd has great chemistry with everybody on the cast. It's kind of the power he does bring to it. Is that he
at one point with Lawrence Fishburne, he has a good repartee with him, and then later in the film something happens. He's like, "I thought you were cool, dude."
Yeah.
Should we spoil that? Because I
have no, that's not. Yeah. I didn't get into specifics, but he has a thing with them.
I'll get with you guys privately because that connects to a sequence that I had a really weird reaction to in my brain. But to say it would spoil a couple of things in the movie. But I wonder if you guys had the same thing because the friend I saw it with had the exact same thought. Now I was talking with Will about this movie, and I can't remember. And like he said, it's kind of forgettable. He's like, even as we're talking about this, it's kind of slipping away in my mind. And there's one thing that I thought was really funny in terms of a running joke. Were there any other running jokes that jumped out at you guys while I'm trying to look for this?
Aside from the truth serum,
I mean, just Randall Park being awesome. There's the fact that every adult male seems to be fascinated with magic.
I liked Bobby how do you pronounce
Cannavale.
Yeah, true.
I like his thing with hugging.
Yeah, that's basically all he does in the film. That actually occurred to me at the end of the film. I was like, how much of a paycheck did Bobby Cannavale get to have 4 hugs? Because it's literally all he fucking did.
It's all he does. He kind of turned around a little bit quickly on that. Like all of a sudden, he's all buddy with Scott. When in the first movie, he was kind of like, he's garbage.
Yeah,
I did. Randall
kind of works.
Pretty funny though.
Yeah, in the magic thing, like Scott, one of the things he's done over the last 2 years is like teach himself just simple magic tricks.
Yeah,
and none of like the children or women or care at all, but like the grown men all are fascinated by it.
Yeah,
like 3 instances of that popping up.
That was a pretty great running joke.
Yeah, I like that one.
I didn't think the action was quite as well done. It wasn't as creative or dynamic as it was in the first movie.
Yeah, probably having Edgar Wright having storyboarded half of the first film action-wise helped.
Did they use some action storyboards in the first one?
Oh yeah, the dancing scene, that was him for sure.
The dancing
on the dance floor. He's almost getting stomped on, like when he's falling through the apartment building. I think a lot of it was. On this one, not so much.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, the kitchen fight was kind of cool, but other than that, there wasn't really. The car chase I thought was a lot of fun. This Marvel movie has the lowest body count of any other Marvel film, I think. By a big margin.
Does anybody die?
There's 2 casualties on screen, and they're not even really on screen. You see the bodies afterwards in Ghost's origin story.
Ant-Man drive-in totals.
The what?
Ant-Man drive-in totals. That's the thing Joe Bob did on Monster Vision.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to follow that up with something?
Yeah, that's it. I was just interested in why
Hawk you just broke in the middle of our conversation to say,
"Well,
Ant-Man drive-in totals."
Yeah, it was just a
while I what?
Oh, why?
We're talking about body count, and that's
Yes.
Then the body counts. Yeah,
You keep track of how many people die in Marvel movies? That's like a thing you do?
No, I don't like
How many died in the last
that's
one?
a death. Cha-ching. I like have a bell I ring. But
How
no.
many died in the last one? Half of everyone.
Yeah, exactly. At the very end, he's shaking for a week and a half.
There is actually someone who's tallied the body count for Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Oh, brother.
So here's the question: does Marvel now take the cake as the most killingest?
It's questionable,
film?
I think, because it's like, yeah, they turn into ash, but we don't know exactly what happened to them. So I don't know.
The difference is Marvel never fully kills anyone.
Well, yeah, no, they'll
Right.
all be back. The most interesting possible thing that can happen is that there are sacrifices made in the main squad in order to bring them back, but they will all be back.
I would
Almost
contest
certainly.
that. I would contest that Captain America: Winter Soldier has a very high body count.
Yeah, I guess with everything that happened at Shield.
I mean, like not main characters, but I still remember one of my favorite things that I've ever seen on Facebook is I'm friends with a guy who's in a band called In the Whale who are touring right now. So if you've seen things on like advertisements for In the Whale, the lead singer, his Facebook status after Captain America 2 was, "Wow, a lot of people died in the Winter Soldier." Just like not like main characters, but just like casualties in terms of the minor bad guys, like just people just getting gunned down left and right.
What about Civil War? Then
and how about the collateral damage when those fucking flying aircraft carriers crash landed inevitably?
Well, they crashed into the lake or the river.
And the building. No, one goes into the Shield headquarters.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
at least one of them. I think.
Well, only Frank Grillo was a casualty of that, and he didn't even really die until later.
Until he died in the third movie.
Yeah, right.
Immediately.
When he blew up, but then the blow up was paused.
But it's okay because they evacuated the area, right? That's the excuse they always put in these movies.
That's like the new thing. That was like, I think that was a direct result of the Man of Steel, which I believe I think Man of Steel's climax in Metropolis still stands as the most expensive collateral damage fight of any movie in terms of property damage and death.
And then in Batman Superman, they were like, "No, we're on an island."
Yeah, they make it very clear. It's like, oh, we're going to go over to this abandoned island where nobody else is. There's no civilians.
That's true. They basically have completely avoided civilians ever since, haven't they?
He actually made a point to save a family.
Yeah. And it's like a stupid family that has like fucking 10 minutes of screen time that nobody gives a shit about. Like, I fucking get it. They're not going to die. Just stop showing it to me. Now, the reason I mentioned the body count in Ant-Man in any case is that the car chase, in my mind, had a very implied high body count, especially with the villains.
Yeah.
There's a couple things where, like, they shrink and go underneath the car and then grow again and launch the car down the street and like, civilians running for cover. It's like, that not everybody made it out of that alive.
Yeah.
Daddy's not coming home tonight for some families.
So,
it's like in the Austin Powers deleted scene where, they get a phone call and like, oh, Daddy, who works at the Dr. Evil laboratory or whatever, isn't coming back.
Yeah, his
henchman.
His head was eaten by a mutated, ill-tempered sea bass.
Yeah, right, something like that. Yeah. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, like there's not much more to say about Ant-Man and the Wasp. I found it very entertaining and oddly warm.
It was pretty warm.
It's got some good feels to it.
And how great was it that the whole plot was the main thrust of it was we have to get Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah,
like we have to reveal her to the world. It was like that was the thrust. It was we got to get to that point. Like that's the apex of the film is Michelle Pfeiffer.
Like actual Michelle Pfeiffer or Michelle Pfeiffer?
Her character. But also her too, because we haven't seen her.
I mean, she kind of plays herself.
Yeah, her career is being resurrected out of the quantum realm for sure by this film.
Well, not just by this film. She was in Mother recently. She was in another independent film.
She was in Mother, yeah.
She was in Mother!
Mother. Mother.
You had me, but I never had you.
Yeah, right.
Daddy, come home.
I thought of between herself and Michael Douglas, her anti-aging CGI was kind of off-putting.
Yeah, both of theirs was. That was unnecessary.
I didn't think hers was all that much. I don't think they had to use it all that much on her.
They didn't because she's
CGI in the first Ant-Man was actually really good for Michael Douglas.
Yeah,
it was.
I could barely even tell.
Yeah, exactly. And he's mostly in shadow for his one young scene in this movie. And Michelle Pfeiffer, for someone who is aged as gracefully as she had, these like, hey, we're gonna use a computer to make her look younger, just kind of looked weird.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
They need to stop trotting that one out and trying to make it a thing for a little while longer, I think.
I mean, it's gotten better since Tron Legacy.
Oh, gosh.
It's gotten better since Tron Legacy.
I mean, I love Tron Legacy, but I've come to terms with the fact that young Jeff Bridges looks really not good in that movie.
Well, there's still a lot of things that got to iron out, like fucking Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One.
Okay, I thought that was pretty good for a full CG creation.
It was decent for a full CG, but the eyes, of course, were the problem. That's where you get
the eyes are the eyes
there's
are always
eyes, and there's always like a little bit of a like plasticine sheen to like cheek skin.
My brother seriously thought that he was still alive, and I was after that scene, I was like, really? Yeah. I mean.
Some people are more exposed than others. My dad's watched a YouTube video of like sport, like a basketball highlight.
To be fair, I was for about a second. I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I was like, "Oh, he's CGI." Like it did give me a start.
I want to hear more about Zach's dad and basketball highlights because you kind of trailed off. What's the relevance here?
I definitely was watching one that was from a video game.
CG Peter Cushing to my dad was watching a video of basketball highlights. I'm just curious.
I'm just saying that Peter.
It was an animated video.
Fucking years old.
I think he's talking about the plastic sheen.
Yeah.
On a person's skin.
I'm more talking about the fact that not everyone can discern CGI from reality, and there's quite a sliding scale there.
Oh, okay.
It probably helps that he hasn't watched a movie since Passion of the Christ.
Whoa.
Oh, talk about a movie that makes you cry.
I was like, that he's done.
Yeah.
You'll laugh, you'll cry.
You'll laugh, you'll cry. You'll laugh again.
Mel Gibson guarantees The Passion of the Christ is the last film you'll ever see.
Because you'll fucking die after it.
And the full quote is from Zach's dad.
Oh.
All right, so
is that it?
I guess that's it for Ant-Man.
Oh, okay. We got more. Okay.
Next week is Skyscraper.
Sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you. Don't worry, he shouldn't get far on foot. Should be expanding, or he won't get far on foot.
Sorry to bother you is going to be a fascinating one if some of us get a hold of it. I'm excited.
Getting 700 screens, so hopefully
it's getting a wide one. Yeah,
I just really love that Lakeith Stanfield plays a telemarketer whose white voice is played by David Cross.
Oh yeah, everything about that movie is going to be fantastic.
Yeah,
I'll keep an eye out, Zach, because Zach's coming into town this weekend, so I'm going to keep an eye out, Zach, to see if I can find a theater that's playing it.
Yeah,
maybe we can find time.
It's playing a half hour away from me, and I'm hoping it comes closer. But I'll drive a half hour if I have to. My car does not have air conditioning at the moment, but I'll fucking do it. I don't care. I want to see that movie
in the friggin' desert of Colorado. Yeah, that's.
I have my little spritzy fan and my change of shirts, so I should be fine.
Oh, okay. And some deodorant.
Deodorant. Yeah, I do have deodorant in my car, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because the last time I had to make a half-hour trip, it was for an important work meeting, and I had no air conditioning. And I for a moment, I considered renting a car. And then I was like, nah, I'm lazy. So instead, I went to Target and I bought deodorant, a hand towel, and one of those spray bottles that has a fan on it. So spritzing my face driving down the highway. And then when I had the cold towel on my neck. And then when I got there, I just wipe myself down with a regular towel, change my shirt, put on deodorant, and I was good. Nobody was the wiser. I fooled them all.
I believe it.
What was the other movie coming out this weekend? It's something dumb, right?
Skyscraper.
Yeah, Skyscraper.
No, the one that's more not Skyscraper, the dumb one.
Hotel Transylvania is probably pretty dumb.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, probably that one.
I'm watching that.
I want to say there's another one though.
Unfortunately,
No,
I
it's
don't think
just
so. I think it's just those.
two.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
true.
really just
Those are the only two that have a release that is significant. The only other film that Box Office Mojo even gives a theater release count to is Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, and that has 4 theaters.
That's the one I was talking about with Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix, yeah. Gus Van Sant.
He was the alcoholic. He plays the alcoholic journalist that got paralyzed in a car accident.
Yep.
Not
Or
to
not
be
the journalist. I'm
confused,
sorry, the cartoonist.
Joaquin Phoenix, not to be confused with Running Phoenix.
Oh, speaking of Joaquin Phoenix, his Joker origin film has been greenlit.
Yeah,
Yay.
Yeah.
yeah,
It
dueling
stops right
dueling
over.
Joker films soon or something. I don't know. I'll watch it. It's Joaquin Phoenix.
I'll watch. It's gonna be better than the Jared Leto standalone Joker film produced by Jared Leto.
Oh no, that's happening.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I'm not joking about
Produced
that.
by Jared Leto and
Yep.
directed by Jared Leto and written by him too.
Can't wait with music by
Is Eddie Redmayne in
This
it?
summer,
30 Seconds to
Jared
Mars
Leto sends used condoms to everybody.
in America.
Let me ask you guys.
He's gonna get chafed.
Let me ask you guys. Would you rather? What would you rather? Would you rather that Jared Leto continue to do Joker or Eddie Redmayne plays the next Joker?
Eddie Redmayne,
Redmayne.
100%.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah, for real.
All right. On that note, guys, we will wrap it up for the evening. Thank you for joining us on this Movie Boozer podcast. And
And if any of you have the phone number to Papa John's, please send it our way. Thank you.
yes,
Do you really want Papa John's delivered from Colorado? They'll probably do it. They got a big reputation in men now.
Yeah, really.
30 minutes or less.